The Diaries is supported by headlamps. Ever been stuck in the woods at night without one? Me neither. But for real, the difference between a shiver bivvy and a pleasant night hike through the woods is just a little bit of light. And every time someone joins the Diaries Plus, they give us like a little extra support to try these hard things, right? And that is incredible. It allows us to push harder because the things we're doing, the kind of stories we are creating and reporting on, it's the same thing as taking on a big climb and knowing that there's a good chance you won't make it home for dinner, but you're going to go anyway. You're going to try something difficult because you know you have that little bit of light. That's what it's done for us when people have joined the Diaries Plus. Every time someone joins and says, I support what you are doing, we believe a little bit more in ourselves. We dream just a little bit bigger for what this show, what this project can become. So please consider joining this global community. Your financial support powers this project. Link is in the show notes, or you can find it on our website. Become a member, support the show.
Fitz, do you remember the X-Men cartoons growing up?
I'm about to show my age. I remember the comic books, Marco.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think I was like past the point of cartoons when the cartoon came out.
Okay. Well, for those who may not be familiar, the X-Men are a team of superheroes from the Marvel comic book universe. And what's so cool about them is that each X-Men draws different superpowers from like these unique individual genetic mutations. I mean, I think the most famous mutant is probably Wolverine.
Just call me Wolverine.
Yes, the whole claws sprouting from your fists is pretty badass.
Okay, I mean, I think it might be an understatement to call them claws. They're super sharp blades made out of adamantium that explode out of his knuckles, but...
Yes. Yeah, I forget, adamantium is like, it's like regenerative, right? It's like his whole body's made of that, right?
Yeah, it's an indestructible metal alloy specific to the Marvel universe. It's kind of like vibranium. But anyways, I think one of the reasons why the X-Men comics are super popular is that the mutants, these X-Men are often portrayed as like these outcasts or outsiders or, oftentimes anti-heroes from society. And they became this like nuanced cultural symbol for people who face prejudice in real life. And I think there are a lot of people in the country who identify with characters who are born with something that, inherently makes them different.
Yeah, or changes their course, right?
Exactly.
There's all these superhero stories about like heroes and mutants, but it's like literally I have a mutation.
This is Sarah Aranda. She's an ultra runner, climber, and rider based out of Durango, Colorado. The mutation Sarah has is in the BRCA1 gene, which for women can severely increase the risk of breast and ovarian cancer at a really young age. So much so that doctors typically treat it proactively by removing the breasts and ovaries when a patient is between the ages of 35 and 40. It's this life-changing treatment, and if you have the mutation, it's also this weight that you carry mentally.
So how can I like turn that into something that empowers me? So like kind of stating it like a BRCA1 mutant is like kind of this weird like it drives my life. It defines who I am physically, and I don't know. It's very much a part of my identity. It has entirely shaped my story. So, yeah.
Sarah inherited the mutation from her mother, Cheryl. And the mutation, it is a motivating factor in Sarah's life. But it was her mom that really gave her the tools to pursue a life of adventure.
I remember in one of her diaries, she wrote about wanting... like her dream was to just travel the road and be, have a band and I don't know, just travel the road and play shows and have that sort of lifestyle, just off to the next thing. But her dad was a military man and he wanted her to get a college degree, and it couldn't be in something like music. It had to be something, I guess, in what he thought would actually make her money or secure her financial future. I think because she couldn't just dive in like with all of her soul, she was always telling us to just follow our dreams and never let anything stop you and be as creative as you want.
How would you live if you knew part of your life was predestined? Sarah discovered her passion for long-distance running and writing during one of the lowest moments in her life. She's since woven these pursuits into these inspiring trials of storytelling and adventurism, carrying those passions to some of the highest points in the country. I'm Marco Seiler Gonzalez.
I'm Fitz Call. You're listening to the Dirtbag Diaries.
And our backyard wasn't giant by any means, but to a small child, it felt enormous.
Sarah was raised in a suburb just outside of Los Angeles, along with 3 other siblings. And as a kid, Sarah's world was no bigger than her backyard, this small plot overgrown with plants and fruit trees.
It felt like a whole entire universe. And we would just play out there for hours with my siblings. But also, I mean, to the outside world, it also was kind of quote unquote overgrown.
That overgrown, mangled aesthetic was at the direction of her father, Frank.
So we didn't really cut the grass or had all these things growing around the house, and he'd get in trouble sometimes by the city to tell him to like mow the lawn. My dad was very classically traditionalist. He was really strong with his religious faith and was also very machismo. School breaks were like, this is time with dad, where my memories are overwhelmed with like us going camping, going to the river, and just like all of our relatives by the river, like super almost stereotypical like of Latino culture, and just hanging out by the river.
Okay, so for those who are not familiar with California Mexican culture, having the entire extended family down by the river for a barbecue, modelos, it's a bit of a trope. But those summers spent outdoors was important, especially for Sarah's dad. It was really the only time of the year that he took time off a busy work schedule. Sarah's mom, meanwhile, was the anchor of the house.
Growing up, it was just her around the house all the time. She did all the cleaning. She took care of all 4 of us kids. And then also, she didn't ever actually plan to be this like motherly family woman. Her and my dad were just dating, and she actually broke up with him. And then a week later or so, she found out she was pregnant. So then my grandpa was like, shotgun wedding, like, you guys are getting married. And then obviously 15 years of marriage happened, and they found love still and like had 3 more children. But I think 15 years, that's enough for things to finally take a toll. And I think she just was like, you know what, I really miss my old self and wanted to be like really independent again. So my parents got a divorce when I was in 7th grade. Like, we didn't even know that they were gonna separate. But I remember my mom picking us up from school, and then we would go apartment shopping, but it would just be for a friend. She's helping a friend look for an apartment. And then lo and behold, there's suddenly the divorce and we're moving into an apartment. I was mostly with my mom at that point, and that's when I kind of got to know her on a whole new level. Like, she was very strong and independent and DIY. Like, something would break in the house and she'd want to figure out how to do it. She was obviously a full working mom now, supporting us. And later, when I talked to her parents about like her personality and the marriage and everything, my grandfather was really worried about her for a while, because she grew up very independent and go-getter. She was a musician. She wanted to be in a band. and just like had a very strong like female empowerment personality, but then that was quite subdued during the marriage with my dad. And I know that there was some levels of like emotional abuse in terms of like appearance and weight. Like my dad, unfortunately, was really into these ideas of like what a trophy wife should look like. And so he kind of held her to these standards of like how much she should weigh and things like that. So that also affected me growing up too, indirectly. Like I'd see those behaviors, and then I just like grew up with these ideas about like diet culture and like, oh, how skinny women have to be and this and that, which is compounded by society at large, obviously.
When the divorce happened, she was finally able to come into herself and really explore all of the things that she was not allowed to enjoy before, even something like having a beer.
This is Sarah's younger sister, Renee.
Or her love for fantasy adventures like Lord of the Rings. There was this religious strain of thinking that things like that could become satanic.
So it was really amazing to almost get to know my mom like for the first time as like a much older child.
It was good that she was able to kind of explore other perspectives of the universe and how life works. And she did always have a spiritual side of her. So that was also good to see that she was, even through everything she went through, she had a very, I would call it a compassionate outlook for existence.
I just completely fell in love with like this like female empowerment, and my sister and I would call her Wonder Woman, and just like it helped us develop our sense of like how we feel like we belong and how we want to control our lives and all of that. So my mom found a lump on her breast, went to go get it checked out, and it ended up being cancer. I think my memory is telling me it was stage 3, and she was only 38 years old. And so I don't think it was immediate that they were like, hey, let's do some genetic testing. It was kind of like, oh, curious, you're only 38. And then her sister, who was only like 2-ish years younger than her, when she turned 38, they found out that she had ovarian cancer. And I think that was like, wow, multiple red flags are happening. Let's do genetic testing. And found out that they had a mutation in their BRCA1 gene. And then they even tested my grandfather, and probably also my grandmother too, figure out who was the carrier, and it was my grandfather who was the carrier, which finally kind of like made sense in their world because his female lineage, there was a lot of breast cancer.
The BRCA1 genetic mutation is hereditary, which means there's a 50-50 chance of the carrier passing it down to his or her child.
I didn't quite understand it at first because I was so young. At first it was just like, oh, my mom has cancer and she has to like go through all these procedures and things. And I do remember her coming home after her double mastectomy and like having, like she was sitting on the couch and her chest was wrapped in an ace bandage and she had these like drain tubes. And it was like pretty horrifying to me to see like what is going on.
With her mother in and out of surgeries and doctor's visits, Sarah filled in the gaps at home to look after Renee and her other siblings.
So she really stepped up and started to fill that kind of matronly role for me. I'm so grateful that she loves so fiercely.
Cheryl's diagnosis and initial mastectomy was just the start of treatment. Throughout high school, Sarah was thrusted into this role of caregiver for her mother and role model for her younger siblings. It was a lot. And by the time Sarah was applying to colleges, her mother's health had grown considerably worse. So Sarah chose to attend UC Riverside. It was just about a 30-minute drive from home.
I just feel like my ability to cope was like all over the place. It was like I grew up with a very perfectionist personality, but at the same time, suddenly I'm finding myself like partying a lot and just like drinking maybe way too much and like smoking pot and like doing all the things that a good golden girl shouldn't do, and just like trying to figure out like what this means and who I am and blah blah blah, like as college normally is for people. But yeah, I remember running, like finding these trails behind campus, and there's the Box Springs Mountains right there. These trails are not flat, they're like straight up the mountainside. And I would just like run my heart out all the time and just, and then like cry at the top, just like be alone. Like it wasn't, these trails weren't super popular, so I'd find myself alone up there a lot and just like be mad and like be sad and be all the things that I felt like I couldn't necessarily be like on campus, because being a good student was also really important to me. um so that was my introduction to trail running, was unfortunately through chaos.
Despite being away at college, Sarah made an effort to stay close with Renee, who was still at home with her mom. And after a better half of a decade battling cancer, their mother didn't have much left to fight back.
My sister and I, we did really connect when my mom was super sick. I remember at one point we had lunch and we had a really difficult conversation about how tired we all were and how much pain and discomfort my mom was in, so that my grandparents were giving her all these drugs that kind of detached her. She almost wasn't there anymore. She was a little bit sometimes, but most of the time she was just so zombified that we felt like she was almost gone already, and we didn't want her to be suffering anymore. So as her children, we were sitting there asking ourselves this question of, do we all still want to keep doing this? Or do we just wish that she could be at peace? And that's a horrible thing for kids to have to think about, is, at what point does everyone stop fighting? What point do we ask our mom to stop fighting?
So by the time 2009 came, when she did end up passing away, it was a strange relief that like finally she's at peace, but also we are at peace, right? As a family. Sorry.
Cheryl Aranda passed away in her home on June 27th, 2009. Sarah had just graduated college with a bachelor's in creative writing. She was trying to figure out her next steps in life, steps she would have to take without her Wonder Woman.
I had graduated, I was renting a house in Upland, but driving like 30 miles or so to the Brea Mall and working as a hostess at the Cheesecake Factory. And I remember one day I was seating a gentleman and he was like, "Oh, what are you going to college for?" And I was like, "Oh, I've already graduated." He's like, "And you're here?" And I was like, "Oh." I was like, okay, maybe, I don't know, do I need to question my life? And I mean, I was already questioning my life, right? Because like, even though I'm like 30 miles away or so from my house, it would take me 2 hours to get home sometimes because of traffic. The LA bubble was just like overwhelming for me. And I just had no direction. I didn't know what I want to do.
That's when Sarah heard about a seasonal job opportunity at the concession stands in Yosemite National Park.
So yeah, when I heard about this opportunity to live in a place like Yosemite National Park and be in nature and climb more and run and whatever, I was like, I need to do this. So I'm really, really grateful that I did that. It was like gambling, I guess, on life, like where to go. But I learned so much about how like other people live their lives. There are alternative ways to approach life and think about career and all of that.
That summer in Yosemite motivated Sarah to get out of the LA bubble and try somewhere new. Find a place where being a dirtbag isn't so uncommon. For Renee, it was hard to see Sarah leave the nest, but it wasn't surprising.
She has that same thing that my mom has, of when she decides she wants to do something, she's going to go do it. And she proved that with packing up her car and moving her whole life to Colorado, getting in that Jeep and just adventuring every time she'd set out by herself all the time, just braving wilderness and new worlds, starting from scratch. It was incredible to watch the adventurisms that we inherited from both sides of the family and the wildlife upbringing, and watching that perseverance, I think is the right word for what my mom had, that she inherited.
Sarah found a home in Boulder, the frontage outdoor mecca. She lands a day job at the local climbing gym, where she attracts the eye of one love-stricken biology teacher.
Name's Patrick Hodge. Moved out to Boulder, Colorado when I was 22 and finished my undergrad in biology. Became a teacher for about 7 years. So I had been single for a few years. I was kind of in that point in my life where I was like, okay, I think I'm done dating. I don't really want to get hurt. I don't really want to hurt anybody else. And I remember one day it was me and my buddy Cameron, and we're walking up to the gym. Walk up to the glass door, and I look through the glass doors, and like over there at the counter, there's a new lady behind the desk. And it literally just like, it hit me like nothing really I'd ever felt before. And I was just kind of standing there. I was like, whoa, she must be new. She's beautiful. So I came inside and went straight up to her, and I was like, hey, I don't have my check-in thing. Can you like check me in? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. What's your name? And she was still being trained and everything. I was like, man, she's so beautiful. And she's at the front desk, and there's so many climbing bros everywhere. It's like, I feel like she's got to be getting hit on all the time. And it's like, I'm just not that type of guy.
Like, it's really annoying to me when guys come off come on to you too aggressively, or you can just tell they're kind of like schmoozy or whatever.
Eventually there was like a couple of times where she was like, she's reading a book, and we started talking about books that we were reading, and it was like, cool, we're having like real conversation. I'm not just making up shit to like get around her, you know?
Yeah, just he was very gentle and kind and had like a really big smile on his face. He just seemed really friendly. He would ask interesting questions. Like, I would sometimes read at the front desk, and he would randomly come up and ask me about what I was reading. I don't know, there wasn't this aura of like, I'm only asking because I want to get into your pants. Like, it was like genuinely like, what are you reading? And this and that. So I don't know, he just came off as really genuine.
I never brought my scan card deliberately, so I could always go up to her and like ask her to like check me in.
I also, like, on a physical level, was like annoyed with climbers that are all like big and strong up top, but then like their legs are like chicken legs. So, and Patrick was not like that. So like he actually had like, yeah, he had some nice calves. So that was like a good plus.
Patrick and Sarah start spending more and more time outside the gym together. But in the background of that love story, BRCA1 is there. Sarah still doesn't know if she's a carrier or not.
I feel like it was pretty easy and straightforward because you meet someone, you want to know about their parents. And my mom had already passed. So it was automatically like, yeah, she passed in 2009 and this is why. And then explaining that I wasn't quite sure if I had inherited the mutation or not, because I hadn't taken the test when I met him. So I don't know. I felt like there was nothing to judge. Like, that was just the context of my life. And it didn't really have any bearing on like whether or not we should pursue a relationship or not.
At 26 years old, Sarah made the decision to screen for the mutation.
She was asking me like, should I get tested to see if I have the BRCA1? I was like, honey, I think it's a great idea so we can prepare, you know, like I'd rather not be surprised by it. And she was like, okay. So we did what we had to do and went to the doctor, and she had the test taken. And then, yeah, we hit the road for Canada to go up to Squamish.
And it was like a day before his birthday. We're driving through the middle of nowhere, Idaho, on some highway. And then that's when I get the phone call from the oncologist giving me the results of the blood test. And I have the mutation. And obviously Patrick and I were like crying for a while. And we found a diner on the side of the road and just like ate a bunch of pancakes. We're just like, this is this is hard and terrifying because now all those like memories I have of seeing my mom like with drain tubes and like the bandages and like going through chemotherapy, it's like, was I literally seeing my future?
Sarah also realized that, for now, she was alone. At this point, her sister Renee had not yet screened for the BRCA1 mutation.
So I was really worried for a long time. And I was also sad too that like, wait, if she really doesn't have it, then am I alone in this? Like, that was really sad for a long time. And that fear, as terrifying as it was also this catalyst to like, well, then I guess I better live now, live here and now. Just like day to day, how can I maximize my joy and experience and love and all of the good stuff? So it only fueled me being the dirtbag and traveling and climbing a lot and returning time and time again to Yosemite National Park to work for the concessionaire and just really develop my outdoor skills.
Sarah also dove more into creative work, writing stories and blog posts about her and Patrick's life adventuring around the American West.
I don't think either of us really ever had like a vision in our mind of a standard wedding. We're not like devout Christians or anything like that. Being in a church just didn't really make sense. And she's like, well, this is like a really cool idea. What if we try to get married on top of the Hulk? And I was like, what's the Hulk?
The Hulk is a towering 1,500-foot granite monolith deep inside the Sierra Nevada mountain range.
And she's like, so she pulls it up, shows me all this stuff. I was like, oh, that looks sick. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, it was really that fast.
There needed to be a witness to this matrimony, of course. So Sarah recruited a few of her videographer friends to capture the first wedding ascent.
Shane at the time was, I don't think he had got on with National Geographic yet, but he was Patagonia, and Drew Smith was Black Diamond Athlete, and they're both SAR. And she'd known them from years in the past, and she brought it up to him. She's like, hey, would you guys be psyched to film us on the Hulk? And so is honestly, when it comes to like planning things or adventures or any of this stuff, you know, I'm just kind of take a back seat. I'm like, yeah, what are we doing?
As a creative writer, I've always been interested in the medium of film. I've also have been very interested in trying to do things in a way that is either innovative or just like is just me and different. And like, I'm not satisfied with a status quo or I don't know, a template that you're just like filling in the blanks. And I don't know. So I've always been interested in the intersections of all of that.
This is a celebration of love, commitment, of friendship, family, and two people who are truly in it forever. We have climbed here today to the top of the incredible Hulk in the Sierra Nevada mountain range to celebrate the union of Sarah Aranda and Patrick Hodge in a most adventurous marriage. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
After the break, Sarah expands her horizons on what's possible. Stay with us.
Everybody hikes. No matter what sport you're doing out there, you're going to do a little hiking. It's awesome. Moving through the woods, spending time on the trail with a friend, with a family member, even a new friend. Oboz Footwear knows nothing in the world unifies the human-nature connection more than the shared love of hiking. Oboz set up camp in the legendary hiking and backpacking hub of Bozeman, Montana. With millions of acres of peaks, valleys, rivers, and the greater Yellowstone ecosystem in their backyard, Oboz has made the most out of its natural R&D lab. They create footwear that delivers unmatched fit, unrivaled feel, and exceptional performance to give you the tools you need to get out there and really love hiking. To find your next pair of footwear, check out obozfootwear.com/lovehiking. Thanks, Oboz, for supporting the show. Bikes bring me so much joy. It's like bikes are amazing. They truly are this incredible thing. I think of them as being freedom, right? Whether it's commuting or whether it is going out and exploring the mountains around Seattle, finding new roads that I've never been on. It is just so much fun. And it's even better when I get to do it with friends and we get to go places. Kuat Racks has been making racks to help get you and your bike and your friends' bikes where they need to be. And as the kind of bike has evolved, Kuat has also continued to innovate to keep up. They just released the Piston Ion Rack, which is specifically designed for e-bikes, and with a large family of racks from no-frame contact hitch racks to roof racks to tailgate pads, Kuat delivers its signature style without compromising on function. It's got the right thing for how you ride and how you go places. Check them all out at kuat.com. Kuat, because you love your bike. There are seasons for running, and then there are periods for being injured. So, yeah, I'm a little bit on the injured reserve right now. I'm getting out walking slowly, doing my PT exercises, and mostly propping my feet up and icing. The good thing is that my feet are warm. My feet are comfortable. They're wonderful. Darn Tough still has my feet covered with their incredible socks. They've been making awesome socks for over 40 years in Vermont. They pride themselves on using merino wool sourced from America and around the world, and they back it up with an unconditional guarantee for life. If these aren't the longest lasting socks you ever owned, return them for another pair. Darn Tough is offering free shipping on any order for Diaries listeners. Use the code DIRTBAG at checkout. We'll put a link in the show notes, or visit darntough.com to find your new favorite pair of socks. Your feet deserve it. Thanks to Darn Tough for supporting the show. So I've been traveling a lot this year. It's not my favorite thing to do, but it is awesome. Go to some incredible places. I've been actually putting some of the Kachava I've been using in a Ziploc bag, which isn't always ideal, but I've really appreciated being able to travel with that stuff. So I am psyched that Kachava now has travel packs. It makes it super easy to pack a few in my bag, whatever direction I'm headed. Kachava's whole body meal shake keeps your body and mind nourished all day, no matter where you are, even backpacking. With 2 scoops of Kachava, you get 85 plus superfoods, nutrients, and plant-based ingredients. So not only am I getting 25 grams of plant-based protein, I'm also getting adaptogens and supergreens at the same time. Kachava has 7 flavors to choose from, including their newer ones, coffee and strawberry. Yay to coffee. Take your daily ritual with you. Go to Kachava.com and use the code DIARIES for 15% off your first order. That's Kachava, KACHAVA.com, code DIARIES.
I was turning 30 and I wanted to run 30 miles for my 30th birthday. And my birthday's in December, so I had like a few months since the summer to like try and train for this new goal I had. And up until that point, again, I didn't really have a ton of mentorship. And so I felt like I was dealing with injuries still a lot, and just being way too ambitious and overtraining and slowing it down. I was like, wait a minute, maybe this is the answer. So that really inspired me to actually set this goal of like 30 miles for my 30th birthday. And I'm going to spend some months actually trying to train for this goal. And because, yeah, I just thought I'd never run a marathon. I think half marathon was the longest I'd ever raced up until that point. But I always have knee pain and et cetera, et cetera. Like maybe my body's just not capable of running a freaking marathon. So I was really scared about this 30-mile goal. But then I achieved the goal and I was just so blown away. Like my body is actually capable of so much more than I ever give it credit for. And so that was the start. And just like, well, what else am I capable of? What are FKTs? Like, what is this new thing that's happening?
FKT, or fastest known time on a designated route or trail.
I wasn't a super fast sprinter or this and that, but put me on the trails in the backcountry and like adventure, I'm really good at that. So I felt like maybe this is where I could blossom and find my highest athletic self.
In 2019, Sarah tackled a supported FKT on the Wind River High Route in Wyoming. It's this 97-mile alpine crest trail that climbs 30,000 feet across Wyoming's Wind River Range. She gets it done in 3 days and 17 hours.
And after I had done some FKTs, I started making this bucket list of like, what are some other cool things to check out? And Death Valley was really fascinating to me. I actually went to Death Valley for one of my birthdays by myself, just like total solo road trip, spent some time wandering around, and I just like fell in love with the landscapes. everything is in constant flux and changing, and there's textures and colors, and sometimes it floods, sometimes it's super dry. The night sky is just absolutely phenomenal. So on the FKT website, there's a map and you can browse FKT routes. And so I like zoomed in on the Death Valley region. And so I was like, oh, what is this? What is this? And the lowest to highest was one of them. But it was 132 miles with like 30,000 feet of elevation gain. I was like, what? Like, that sounds way too hard. But I put it on my bucket list anyway. I was like, I don't know, maybe years down the road when I'm like, I don't know, this ultimate elite athlete or something, I can check it out then.
In the meantime, Sarah is knocking down various hard FKTs and eventually attracts a brand sponsorship with Merrell in 2023.
So I kind of had this like weird like gamble, I guess. Like I'm turning 35, which is the year I need to start thinking about surgeries, but I'm also finally a professional athlete. Like, universe, what are you doing to me? like, you know what? I'm gonna commit to my 1 year contract with Merrill and just like go all out and then commit to the surgeries for the year after for 2026.
Those surgeries are meant to be preventative. It usually requires breast removal along with the ovaries and fallopian tubes, all of which would send Sarah into early menopause. The treatment is invasive, but it's the best shot at making sure that cancer doesn't start to grow and spread. Needless to say, it's a lot for an athlete to come back from.
When I was thinking about my FKT bucket list, the low to high just kind of like jumped out at me. So I think that's it. Like, I'll have the resources to pull it off because I'll want to do it supported. And I'll have the time to train for it. And I don't know, it just got really, I was actually on a run in California, like in the ancient bristlecone pine forest, which is in the White Mountains. And you can see like the horizon. There's actually part of the like Death Valley region that you can like see from the White Mountains. And just like looking over in that direction and just everything seemed to like click and I felt really inspired and I was like, I'm gonna do it. It's terrifying and scary and I have no idea if I'm capable, but you don't know if you don't try.
The lowest to highest was originally established as a through hike in the early 2000s. Starting in the Badwater Basin of Death Valley, it crosses over desert and alpine terrain, ending at the very top of Mount Whitney. The route climbs over 30,000 feet and descends another 20,000. And to be clear, the low to high is a seldom traveled route. It requires route finding and an element of adventurism that isn't as present on the highly trafficked backpacking trails of the Eastern Sierras. It's only seen a handful of FKT attempts. Sarah was gunning to establish the first female supported FKT.
I think one big crux for folks that attempt it that are the backpackers or fast packers is water. Desert environments, there's usually a lot of caching that is required. And so that was also one reason why I definitely wanted to have my attempt be supported. Because one, I wanted to give myself the best chances of succeeding in this goal that I felt was like kind of like this last ditch effort to like do what I can and throw down before I have life altering surgeries.
The truth is, Sarah didn't really know when she would have another chance at tackling a major FKT like this again. While this was a hard reality to face, it was also a choice that Sarah had the foresight to make. She had the benefit of screening for the BRCA1 mutation far earlier than her mother and aunt had the chance to. So Sarah invited a team of filmmakers to document the lowest to highest, not because she needed proof of her accomplishments, but she wanted to create a project or an offering that would honor this moment and opportunity. Sarah gave the project a name, Ofrenda.
The notion of what an ofrenda is, even though it's a part of my family's heritage, it is also something that in our modern world, my family did not necessarily practice that. But I feel like in my growing into what does identity mean and reacquainting myself with culture and heritage, I feel like things like Dia de Muertos and building an ofrenda is so like touching and poetic and like I don't know, I was falling in love with all of these cultural ideas and practices and what they symbolize. And so I wanted to take that, but then how could I approach it in my own way? To find that version would be creating something like a film and doing an FKT route and culminating everything into this, like, I don't know, big bang of honoring my family, the grief, the loss, what I am about to go through. And I don't know, everything just kind of culminated together in a way that felt like I could actually build this ofrenda now in a way that was like truly meaningful to me and how I saw life and identity and where I was culturally.
A few weeks before the FKT, Sarah was spending time in Bishop with friends. They visited this art installation in the Pio Shoshone Cultural Center. It was an exhibit dedicated to missing and murdered Indigenous women. Sarah eventually struck up a conversation with the exhibit's curators.
They started talking about prayer run that they do every year, except that year there was no one available to finish this prayer run for them. And the prayer run ends on Tumaniguya, which is Mount Whitney. And I was just like, well, wait a minute. I'm about to go up the mountain. How can I help? Like, can I finish this prayer run for you? And they were just like, yes. And it was just like, I don't know, it was like, yeah, a thing that felt like fate. Like I was meant to help them out, and everything just got really emotional, and they like held this blessing ceremony for me.
This was also a moment of affirmation for Sarah. Her grandmother on her father's side is an Indigenous woman from Mexico, and she had been struggling to find ways to connect with that part of her family.
And then a couple days later, I met with them to pick up a red bundle that they had put together that I would carry up to Maniguya. And so, yeah, I was just like, absolutely, I would be honored to do this for you. So it was really special.
A 130-mile supported FKT, an ofrenda, a prayer run, a documenting film crew. Sarah might have seen this as one unifying pursuit, but there are a lot of moving pieces here.
Well, as we were approaching, we were checking the weather, right? And there was that big storm that was coming. And I was like, if it were just me, I would probably I would delay the attempt like a few days and see how the weather would go. Or I would like rush it forward, like move it somehow before or after the date that I had scheduled it for. But because I had the film crew and all of my pacers and the crew and everyone's like taking off work and like all of these schedules have been like compiled, I just like felt like I couldn't change anything. So that felt really heavy to know that I could be starting this thing knowing that it could really fail because of weather.
Despite the iffy weather, Sarah isn't one to walk away from a challenge like this.
So the beginning, I want to say the first 24 miles were phenomenal. And I was actually ahead of schedule, and all the like crew, because I had the film crew too, and like everyone like were like, oh my gosh, he's like flying ahead of schedule. And I was like super amped up and excited. And then we, at the top of the ridge for Telescope Peak, I exchanged pacers and we're descending into Tuber Canyon. And it's this like kind of infamous canyon that's like known for being difficult and bushwhacky. And I didn't get to scout it beforehand, so I had no idea what to expect. And then just like all that I gained in that first 24 miles, I was like totally lost in this next section. It's just like kind of off trail, you're bushwhacking, you're not sure like which slope to be on to stay out of the wash. And then we ran into, there were some springs that dotted the canyon, and this one spring had a bunch of growth around it, but these trees had thorns. Like there's no way we're just gonna push through. And then I noticed there was like poop. I'm like, oh, is this like burrow poop? Like, okay, well the burrows are obviously getting around. So what route are they taking? And we find the burrow trail that went up and around the side and like out of the wash. And I was like, yes, like the locals, like That's where the beta is.
Sarah ran about 50 miles to Panamint Springs by the end of the first day. On the second day, Sarah pushes through long, exposed stretches of desert, running into the night in an effort to complete another 50 miles.
That night was really hard. Descending another steep canyon. This one was called Long John Canyon. And it was another canyon that I didn't get to scout beforehand. It is pretty much entirely off trail, and you're just sliding down scree, and you're like trying to avoid cactus, and you're like, okay, what's the best route to take here? Do we stay high? Do we drop down into the canyon itself? Oh, probably not, because it's quite cliffy here, or we're just like, and it's all in the dark. So we're trying to figure this out with headlamps. It's getting colder and colder. There's a storm happening.
Meanwhile, as Sarah is navigating the dark canyons and steep switchbacks, Patrick is waiting at the next supply stop, helping coordinate the film crew and pacers for Sarah's push up Mount Whitney.
I was making sure I got everybody organized and gave them the right calories and sent them off on their way at the right time to like meet up with her. So that was intense. But it was also really intense because I couldn't sleep either, man. Like thinking of her out there on a trail, off trail up in the mountains, way away from any type of help. It's like if anything were to go wrong, like, shit would hit the fan. So it's kind of like I would try to lay down and try to sleep, and I just like couldn't. It was just like my eyes would just not calm down. And so anyway, I started like almost slightly hallucinating, like seeing shadows run across the trail and shit like that, like not sleeping for 3 days. It was really intense.
Midnight comes and goes. But I was also in a lot of pain finally. Like, yeah, it makes sense. Like over 100 miles. My feet are hurting. Body's aching. I have to like stop and rest and like put my feet up every once in a while and then like keep going. Finally make it to the van where this canyon dumps me out. So it's just Patrick and me in the van, and I just like start crying because I was like, I don't know if I can actually do this. Like, my body is like, feels like it's done. It's taken me so much longer than I thought it would. So I felt like my chances to summit the mountain the next day was like slim because of the storm, and I didn't know how it would actually affect everything. And I was like trying to tell him that like if it was just me or just you and me and I'm doing this by myself, I would probably call it quits. But then also knowing that so many people came here to help support me, people are waiting for me, and then the prayer run, like that weighed on me a lot. Like every time I was slowing down and feeling like maybe I just can't do this, like, no, I need to think about the prayer run, the prayer bundle, and the women that I am here to honor. And that just like made sure I was at least willing to keep trying. Like that's what is always important, right? This willingness to at least just try. And then so Patrick was just like, you need to sleep. Just sleep and we'll talk about this later. So he like sets an alarm, puts me to bed. The next morning I wake up and my body is like surprisingly okay. And the sun is out, the sky is blue, the storm had mostly cleared. There's some really neat clouds over the mountain, but you could see snow. There was all the snow on the mountain now. But at least it was blue skies. And I was like, okay, there's supposed to be high winds that hit the mountain later that night. So it was kind of like a now or never thing. Like you either go now and try, or it's just not going to happen right now. So I was like, all right, let's go. Got myself together and just started for it. And my friend Liz joined me for a portion and paced me up to Whitney Portal. And she was an amazing pacer. Like she was very on top of like every half an hour. All right, time to eat and drink, like really on it, on me, like making sure I was like doing everything I needed to do. And we just flew. Like I just suddenly felt like I was being carried toward the mountain. It was just like all of this, I don't know, the impetus, the motivation, all the meaning behind everything that I was doing. It just like felt like it wasn't just me pushing myself, but everyone was helping push me towards the mountain. And I don't know, I just felt like extra empowered. And we show up to the base of the mountain trail at Whitney Portal, and people aren't expecting me to show up yet. So they're like, the camera crew's like flying out of the van, like, oh my gosh, you're here. Like, what? We weren't expecting you for another hour. Like, and there were a group of people that were going to join me for the summit push, and some of them weren't even there yet. It was already like 2 p.m. in the afternoon, which for any normal, like standard backpacker slash hiker that is going to do Tumaniguya, like they're usually starting this mountain like 3 a.m. Here I am at 2 p.m. at the trailhead, like, all right, let's go. But I did also just like had no doubt in my ability. Like the trail, it's an actual trail to the summit. So I
Yeah.
wasn't navigating anymore. I wasn't trudging and bushwhacking. Like I knew that if I just stuck to the trail, I could just fly. And that's pretty much exactly what we did. Like we made it to the bottom of the 99 switchbacks, and it was like finally sunset. Like we had made incredible time. And then when I made it to there's like a notch before like the final 2-ish miles to the summit. And it was dark by the time I got up there. And so the temperatures had dropped below freezing. The wind is starting to finally pick up. And it's like, oh gosh, that weather window we talked about is maybe starting to close. The wind is blowing the snow everywhere. So it kind of felt like it was snowing. And my water was freezing. But I don't know, I just that final push was pure just like mental, I don't know how to describe it. It's like I had to become my own cheerleader, very literally. Like I was pushing so much, I left my pacers behind. I just started talking out loud and just being like, you got this. Everyone's with you. Like your mother's with you. The missing murdered Indigenous women that I'm carrying this bundle for, like they are here with me. Like I just kept telling myself all of that. Like everyone is here with me and I can do this.
After 2 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes, Sarah reaches the summit.
Reaching the summit, it is a relief, just like when you're finally relieved by like people who suffer moving on. It was a very intentional suffering on my part to be on that route and to arrive there, but it was symbolic, right? So it was this sense of relief of like, wow, I did it. Like, I can't believe I did it. But also you're in the moment so much that you're not processing or coming to terms with what you've just done yet. You're just like still purely in the moment. And I wait for Anya and Patrick were the people that ended up finishing like the summit push with me. And they arrive. So we go into the summit hut, and then we finally open the bundle, and there's some tobacco in there. And so I like spread some tobacco and was like, it was really grateful to like not only thank everyone who helped me, but thank my physical body for carrying me there and for helping, not just helping, literally made this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have any specific ruminations or thoughts about your mother in that moment?
Yeah. I think she's always felt like a strong presence in my life. Like if there is a such thing as religion in my life, me believing in her and my ancestors is that. Like I pray to them. I want to know that my prayers are going to something or someone that I knew very dearly. And so that's who I pray to. I pray to my mom, my grandpa who has passed away, and my Aunt Debbie and my papa too. He's also passed away. That's when I felt like I was being carried, like I felt like that energy in addition to everything else that I mentioned, but like I knew that they were definitely there with me.
As Sarah and Patrick take refuge in the summit hut, the conditions outside are becoming more dire. They need to get off the mountain quick.
Soon after we leave the hut, like all of our water freezes over, our food freezes, winds are like 30, 40 mile an hour gusts. And so she just starts crashing hard.
I can tell my brain function is dwindling somewhat. I thought that he had this dehydrated meal in his backpack. And so I'm just starting to obsess over this dehydrated meal that I think he has. And I just want him to stop and make it for me. And so I'm just begging him the whole time, like, please, like feed me, essentially.
And so she's like, hey, can we just like stop and set up the stove and cook something? And I was like, and there's like wind blowing everywhere and like snow blowing sideways and it's all ice and shit. And it's like dark everywhere. And I was like, honey, we can't stop here. We'll literally die of exposure.
I just like had to truly rely on Patrick. And I was worried that my stability was kind of like faltering a little bit. So he just like let me hang on to his pack and he was guiding me step by step.
And I was like, and we'll just go one step at a time. And I'll just part carry you down. And she's like, okay. And so we were able to do that. And I was having to actually verbally say warmth, strength, balance. And I just kept saying that for hours because it took us like 3.5 hours to go 3 miles down to base camp. What was so scary is that seeing Sarah crashing so hard and being in that situation. Like there are times when I think back to that summit, like descent, and I get like a little bit of PTSD because it was like a very scary moment. I internalized all that. So in the moment, you had to be solid as a rock because you had to, right?
After 4 hours of trudging down steep switchbacks in the dark, Patrick and Sarah make it back to base camp. They're greeted with hot food and a warm sleeping bag. Some things in life are for certain. In Sarah's case, that phrase was written into her genetic coding. This through-line mutation that has traveled with Sarah's genealogy for generations. And for each person in her lineage, I'm sure that BRCA1 meant something different. For Sarah, it was an opportunity to hustle her talents and aspire to these empowering feats that weren't really available to her mom and other women in their family. In other words, while so many things in Sarah's life seemed for certain, Sarah chose to embrace the uncertainty, or as Sarah puts it,
you don't know if you don't try. I'm really grateful that my gamble paid off, like to delay surgeries, have my time with my Merrill contract. So I had my double mastectomy on February 26th of 2025, and everything went well. They tested the breast tissue to make sure there wasn't any like secret hidden cancer, and there was nothing. So that was like an immense relief. And then in August, I had my ovaries and my tubes removed and kept my uterus, and I've been somewhat able to return to running, but not quite. I'm like still trying to figure out. There's a lot of obviously hormone replacement therapy is a part of my life now. I am technically in menopause. So yeah, dealing with that has been a journey that I'm still somewhat navigating right now, but at least I'm like feeling like my athlete self. And I'm really excited to train and race again this year. And who knows, like what I'll accomplish.
Thank you to Sarah, Renee, and Patrick for sharing your stories. You can check out Sarah's writing at bivvytales.com, and you can watch the film of Sarah's lowest to highest FKT at www.afrenda-film.com. You can find the links in the show notes. We'll put them all in there. Our stories come from friends of friends, and from you, our community. If you have a compelling idea for a guest or story lead, please give us a shout. You can email us at editor@ducktapethenbeer.com. Thanks to everyone who supports the show through the Diaries Plus. It is a huge difference. You're making this show possible for the rest of us, so thank you. If you haven't joined, please consider. This is how we bring the show to the next generation of dirtbags. If you want another way to help out, you can also write us a review on Apple Podcasts. It does help others find the show. Music today from Joya, The Volunteer State, Brittany Pava, Jean-Marc Yee, Opium Flirt, Miss Wood, Fields, Dan Koch,
The tracks are courtesy of the artists or Track Club. Jacob Bain and Nis Cotto composed our theme song. You can find the artists at our website, dirtbagdiaries.com. This episode was produced by Marco Seiler Gonzalez with additional production help from Becca Cahal, Evan Phillips, and Skylar Perwins. Illustration by Walker Cahal. Becca Cahal is our executive producer. I'm Fitz Cahal, and you've been listening to the Dirtbag Diaries. Thanks for tuning in.